I'm in a very delicate position to talk on a subject which is known to most of you. And the situation now is also not very conducive to think about the Quad or any of those kind of geostrategies, especially since the entire world is busy tackling a single solution through conflicts and cooperations. The views which I express may not match with your views, but please take it and have a look at it by reprocessing it, and in the long run, we may be able to do something better as and when the fog and the friction clears in the world. I know that some of my students are also listening to me from the Rashtriya Raksha University who is dealing with the law. So my presentation may not be a uniformly designed or defined. It will be a kind of a staccato presentation, wherein we can fill it up with various questions or discussions, not only now, even after I complete this. Ultimately, it's about human behavior in the world, and that's where I want to bring you. Please understand, I may not be talking about anything which perhaps you are thinking I may introduce, because I know what exactly comes in the mind of people when you talk about Quad, etc. But I'm going to talk to you in a different way. I'm going to take you tangentially on a national security route, wherein you may be able to pick a few points and also will be able to throw at me some of them which will be useful to me for my studies. Human behavior is what we are talking about. Everywhere it is. We are not talking about animal behavior when we are governing a country. Next, when you go to the unified system of a human being, we start with a family, go to a resident association, and stop at the nation. I use the word nation because that is the word which is used in national security. I'm not going to use the word nation state or countries or anything. Maximum, I may use a term called geostrategic entities. Now, when human beings have to live, they have to be cooperative. The scientists have said that human species are cooperative. But according to me, as a strategist or as a government servant, I would like to talk about human beings as those who are involved in cooperation as well as conflicts. We conflict, we kick each other, we get after each other. We also cooperate with each other. So I use the term human species are interactive. They are not insular, or no one can stay alone in any place, even if he goes to the Mars. So it's an interactive system which we are having, wherein we need to be governed. And when we have to be governed by ourselves, as if the God has given the fatwa, you will rule governing yourself, then we look for an agent, and that agent, according to me, is the government. And when the government is not there, you decide to rule yourself, as if I am cooking in my own home when my family is awake. It's called anarchy, and anarchy is not that bad. Somalia has proved it for 10 years plus. Anarchy is a rule by people without hiring an agent. That's all about it, but it can lead to chaos. So once we know these kind of small little nitty-gritties, we may be able to go further on national security and come to the global system as it is, because that matters a lot in coalition, in collaboration, and especially when you form organizations like United Nations or SAARC or Commonwealth or anything for that matter, including Quad. How many, how many geostrategic entities or a nation, according to me, exists in the world? It changes. In fact, last year when I just completed a book, I found there are 263 geostrategic entities, which comprises 193 United Nations members, two, Vatican and Palestine, who are not members of the UN but recognized. Then there are 8 UN unrecognized entities called Abkhazia, Kosovo, Northern Cyprus, South Ossetia, and Taiwan and Western Sahara. Now, everyone may not agree with this, other countries may not agree with it. That's why these 8 are UN unrecognized entities. So what I was telling is 193 UN members, 2 recognized but not UN members, 8 unrecognized member states, but they are not members, but they are unrecognized entities, which I count. Then there are 58 territories all over the ocean. In fact, every land piece is over the ocean. 58 territories, which is owned by 9 members of the United Nations, out of which France and UK owns maximum. 58 of them. Like, for example, Chagos Archipelagos, owned by UK, but it leased out to the United States. Diego Garcia, what we talk about. So there are 58 territories. These 58 territories actually holds a key position in geostrategy. That means France, UK, and USA can claim they are Indian Ocean, I can say, rim countries or whatever. So we must understand this particular thing, and the British Empire, still the sun doesn't set, because you got Malvan, you got Falkland Islands, what the Argentinians call Malvinas, where United Kingdom has got their own territory. So when you look at it, there are 58 territories owned by just 9 countries. They are Australia, China, Denmark, France, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, UK, and USA. This I would like you to make a specific note of it. There is one country, one geostrategic entity, which is a global commons, that is Antarctica, and I also count European Union, which is a supranational entity. According to Central Intelligence Agency's fact book for 2020, they have one less than what I got. And this is what the Central Intelligence Agency prepares every year for the president. And whatever is open source in that, which will be left to the researchers and the public. So from that, when I look at it, you may find some of the countries moving this way and that way. But when I carry out a strategic study of coalitions, collaborations, international law, etc., I like to peep into the present state of the globe, the global system. I want you to understand a very important point here. The human system stops at nation state. Beyond a nation, whatever we have are different kind of marbles in a jar, and that jar which we call the global system is not a system. Until such time all the planets all over the universe will become habitated, I don't think they can become a system, because the global system doesn't follow the proper principle of a system to define as a system, to work on it as a system. That is the boundary, the system boundary. There is a system boundary for a family. There's a system boundary for a nation, which is the largest human system. But beyond that, there is no boundary, defined boundary. We can only imagine. That's why Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam is an abstraction within our mind, but it's not practical. So there cannot be a government, there cannot be an agent who will run it, but we have the United Nations, which is still struggling between chapter 6 and 7 in the chapter 6.5 kind of formula. It needs to be reviewed, but still we have a United Nations for collective security, but we don't have it for global security. Global security is equivalent of national security. That means beyond national security, which again is not military security, it is the total well-being of the people, in which military security is only one of the elements. among 16 elements which are inclusive. None of them are mutually inclusive. So when you want to deal with COVID or a pandemic, where will you deal with it? Health security or disaster security? According to me, both have to be together. That's how the government has to see the entire elements of national security, which is taken as an inclusive subject, and carry out governance with a trade-off in each one of them. Because once I touch one, it will cause an effect on another one. This is how I have defined national security in my papers, in my books, in my speeches, in my research publications. And this is the way government has to govern if their objective is human well-being, which is very difficult to define. But let us look at the 16 elements of national security is there, and which is now working on 8 different terrains. That is what we call the ocean, etc. Napoleon, Genghis Khan or Akbar and all these kind of people who are conquerors as well as emperors have played only in their home ground. Home ground is what was there for most of our ancestors who did well, whether Chandragupta Maurya or anybody. But today's government has to play in another 7 more grounds. One of them is ocean. We are not going into that. But what about these 263 countries? Out of this, our Quad forms only 4 members. They are in 7 continents, according to you. But are you aware there is one more continent which has been identified in 2007, and that 2007 finding by scientists all over the world was actually what the Romans said many, many years back, and subsequently Albert Tasman, the Tasman Sea between Australia and New Zealand, if you remember, the sailor had identified but could not conclude. That is a new continent called Sealandia, which comprises New Zealand and New Caledonia, which is a French territory in the Pacific. That means when you decide on a Quad, and if you have Australia supporting it, it is not enough for us to strengthen it, to make it firm, unless you have New Zealand as well as France also in it, because they happen to be passing through there in the Quad corridor. So what is this which we have to find when we talk about Quad is actually anything with the 4 whatever amplifying facilities are there. A table is a Quad. But the Quad which we are talking about is not just for carrying out naval exercises, but it is much more than that, which is created by Shinzo Abe in 2007, the Japanese Prime Minister, because Japan has got maximum worries. 2007, when Shinzo Abe, Dick Cheney, and all these people, our Prime Minister, then Manmohan Singh, and all is gone, and created Quad, is called Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. And it was supposed to be against somebody else, which was not formally established. But this Quad which we are talking about, we know only a small part of it. That is some naval exercises which we carry out. But you look at in recent time, there were so many conflicts we had in Quad. The United States government has invoked a particular clause called the EMC, Excess Maritime Claims Against India. Recently, there was a fleet movement through the Lakshadweep Island, close to Lakshadweep Islands, they said just to show their power, but I don't agree with that, because I know the Americans and I have been working with them and I have studied with them. I feel it is just a passage of one of the American ships, naval ships from Persian Gulf to Yokohama, which anyway has to pass through this way, and you can't block every other place like the Americans say. But then Americans cannot say that we cannot control our courtyard. We don't want anybody to pass through our courtyard because they can be a threat to us because the world is not totally comfortable for anybody. We can't believe people. So we have to have some restrictions, which of course they will defy. And they will say that they are defying it only because they want to show other part of the world and other people also. Who are these other people, which is again not what I will be able to say, especially as a retired person. I won't know much of what's happening around, except I can carry out investigations on my own and study. But I do not feel that India has to worry if the American ships pass through. America doesn't have to worry, but it should agree with India when we say, look, we don't want someone all of a sudden come and do bing, bang, bang in our courtyard or in our backyard. And this is applicable to Maldives also, who are very near to us. So we have to be careful with our area in front of us for trespass. But that is where the Quad and all has to actually go. Prime Minister of Australia felt we don't have to have Quad. Australia withdrew from Quad. It took another few years, especially in 2017 when the new Prime Minister came, then only we could re-establish Quad. Actually, Quad didn't have much of a life so far. And Quad didn't have any serious life at all, according to me. So Quad, what we talk about today, if I say it is for security, it is for resource denial for others, it is for any other combined or collective security against an identified or imagined enemy kind of a thing. I don't believe that, because the other party, if you really look at the other party, if there is anybody, I find it much stronger for various reasons. One of the reasons is that I find there is not single country whom we can isolate and say we are going to go against that particular country, all of us. I'm not naming any country, because when you look behind of that particular country, they have more than Quad, I will say a penta. I will not be naming these countries, but that particular country, if at all we say it is China, and please believe me, China is quite powerful, China is quite responsible, China is quite decent, and China is strong. And China has people. A Quad or something cannot compensate for that because they have a penta, which I call it. That is one of the reason I call it penta. That means five members in that, which even a Quad has to become a penta plus. That means Quad need more. I'm tangentially communicating to you. You may pick up few things, but I'm not directly giving you like a lawyer's question in a court of law. So I want you to understand Quad is weak. Quad is having clashes. Quad has got one member leading it. Quad has not done anything so far seriously. Quad has made issues about the Quad's own members. Like recently, we even had the Times, the Guardian, as well as the Australian commenting on the Prime Minister of India for as if he is the one who has created all the problems. I don't know, but that is not the way a responsible member has to behave. It is slanderous. They should not do that. So where is the strength of the Quad? The Quad doesn't have the cohesive force within it or the binding energy within it, whereas the opponent has got much more binding energy. Please understand, there can be countries where the government remains permanent till the end of the leader. There can be countries where the government stays for 4 years or 5 years or 6 years or whatever the intermittent periods, and somebody else comes and the whole thing changes. But the other party has more strength. Of course, they can also damage us further. This is the game anyway we have to play. So when you look at Quad as an answer to something else, I don't think it's an answer provided we behave, but it is to be made responsible, and they should all have the compatibility and ability and willingness to work together and not pass slanderous messages or threaten each other, which I'm sure they won't do it because things are changing. 2020, 21st century is different. 2021 post-COVID, which is going to be under 30 months more, according to my assessment, and 2023 onwards, the world should see a better lifestyle, especially with more responsible people whom I call sapient humans, not Homo sapiens sapiens. This is what if the world is going to face tomorrow, then the world is going to be without war. But coalition forces will help a lot. Now, when I come to coalition forces, I must also tell you something very interesting. In Ramayana, when Lord Rama fired the arrow at Bali, Bali was lying, the monkey king Bali was lying. He asked a question to Lord Rama, why did you do all these things? And why you want to kill me? Of course, he is going to die now. So Rama said, I wanted to create a coalition force. I want to go and search for Devi Sita and kill the person who kidnapped her, Ravana. So I will get Sugriva's army to go with me. Now, if that is so, Bali asked him, why didn't you ask me straight away? I would have given you a much bigger army for you to take away. They would have gone and done everything for you as a coalition force. That is the time Rama tells Bali, to kill one Ravana, I cannot go and align with another Ravana. Does it make any sense? This is very important. You look at another coalition war, 3,500 years back, Trojan War. The Trojan War, Agamemnon had his coalition. That is the first time an armed army used sea lift to go through to the Troy, for example. That was a beautiful coalition. Of course, it went haphazard after the war is over. But it was a beautiful coalition when you look at it. Now, do we have that kind of coalition in the present day world? Was it we have temporary coalition like what you have seen during the Saddam Hussein's time, or what the United Nations will agree if at all they have to allow you to go and attack somebody. Take the first war in the world, it is 25,000 years back. The more zeros means more inaccurate it is, but whatever it may be, the first war is presumed to be fought for fire. Second war, the Trojan War, which I spoke just now, was fought not for Helen. It was fought for tin, because that of the Bronze Age. You need tin and copper to make bronze. And tin was plenty in Troy. The third war, the most beautiful war which I count in my record, is the 1971 India-Pak War. If you ask me why I conclude this way, which I'll be writing some other time in a book form, the three best wars which I have seen. The first two wars, the fire as well as Trojan War, were for resources. 1971 war was without a coalition, and it was also not for resources. It was on simple humanitarian ground. It was a matured war, a very matured war. Now, when you look at all these kind of things, what are we at the moment doing with other countries in geostrategy? By forming alliances, by forming organizations. You know what's happening with the SAARC, you know, ASEAN. There are various other organization collaborations happening in all around the world. So we have to see what will happen to these kind of things. So Quad, what will happen to it? I'm not sure. We need more members, otherwise it will decline. China, please don't think China is in a disadvantaged position. China has got a geolocation which is not that good, but China can always come out of it, which is already happening when they are making Belt and Road and Silk Road, etc. Beltways and things like that. It's not a problem for China. Besides, China has an advantage, that is, it can take the trade routes through the northern sea route because it is melting. It's only a matter of time. Japan also knows about it. Japan is quite worried country because That is one country which has been in a trauma the moment the Second World War stopped. It had two nuclear bombs falling on it, haphazardly. And it also had its northern territory taken away by another country. All happened immediately after the war, according to me, according to them. But it may not be recorded in that way. The Kuril Islands or the Northern Territory, what the Chinese, Japanese call, they lost it. Just because in that commotion of the post-war and that the collapse in the war. Second, nuclear bombs were not the one that has made the Japanese surrender. Maybe surrender totally to Dabe. So when you look at it, every country in this global system has problems of their own. And the only way we can resolve them is by being together, by joining hands together and understanding and behaving in more responsible manner. That's what I will say in this limited time I have got, and I think I already exceeded. Finally, I would like to conclude that sitting and whining in agony like a dog is not a strategist forte. A responsible government will find solutions for whatever problems it is facing. And that has to be done in cooperation with or in through conflict, or in other words, interactively with other countries. This is what I want to say. I think I have taken a little more time. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind.